Dragon Riders, Kaze no Kaeru, by Night Dragon Zero. Chris's perspective. Sometimes, I felt becoming the beast wasn't too bad. I didn't have much to think about, which was beginning to hurt my head a lot. Earlier on, I was sure my grave would have been filled before long. Now I felt the Team Rocket higher-ups were impressed with a Pokemon like myself that had so much bloodlust. Since that previous incident, absolutely no one had wanted to become my tamer, so to say. No one had even dared to step more than 10 feet in my direction, unless they were in a large group armed with high-powered tranquilizer rifles. My human side had been begging them to use actual guns for a change, and end it all for me. However, I realized that I must have been far too valuable for them to kill me outright. I've been taking out my anger and frustration on any poor sap they made me fight, usually ending with the Pokemon being ripped to shreds if the situation permitted it. The battle frequency became less and less, and I assumed that they were beginning to make me battle only their most powerful warriors. Whatever it was, I felt it made no difference to me. I still continued on my vicious, undefeatable streak. Those that could actually walk out of the arena with a severed limb were considered lucky. So I spent most of my time in the cell, pacing around, snarling, resting, and practicing my battle techniques. At least now, they began leaving the door hatch open so light could get in, and I was actually fed too, but barely enough. Enough to keep me alive, but still mad, hungry, and desiring more blood. Then came the time I fought him. I'd been drugged as usual, and dragged to the arena while unconscious. However, this arena was different. It was a much larger room, made completely out of some reinforced metal. Bright lights shone down from the ceiling. I squinted, eyes slowly adjusting to the light. I was alone, but not for long. A door at the opposite end slid open, revealing a strange Pokemon I'd never seen before in my life. It had a humanoid form, a purple color, and was clad in shiny metal armor. I was temporarily awed, but my instincts soon came back. I knew this was my opponent. I fired a Hyper Beam straight at him. The Pokemon raised a 3-fingered hand and deflected the beam. Even as the beam hit the wall, I was already charging. As I slashed, he disappeared into thin air. Teleported! He appeared behind me, and I slashed again, only to miss once more. Then he appeared back at his starting point and raised his hands. Suddenly, I felt my chest tightening. It was becoming harder to breathe. A psychic attack? Those were amongst the most deadly attacks I'd faced, but this one was exceptional. It was simply beyond anything else. I was lifted off the ground, paralyzed. Desperately, I struggled against the psychic, trying to get my Hyper Beam into motion. Everything happened at once. He must have shoved against me, and my attack went haywire. Astounding pain erupted through my entire body as I was thrown back. For a split second, we saw into each other's memories. It must have been some weird act of fate. I couldn't comprehend much, just things like the laboratory and such, but then reality came back. The torment that came to my mind was beyond anything else. It was as if every bone in my body had snapped at once. I was briefly aware of myself sliding down the wall and hitting the ground chest first. The darkness beckoned me. If this was death, then I welcomed it. Firestorm's perspective. Storm, are you alright? Uggle's voice asked. How are you feeling? Alive, I muttered. I lifted a hand, noticing that I was human once again. Fortunately, the skin-tight wetsuit hadn't been affected by the transformation and was still on me. Great, because I think he wants to talk to you, Dracia said, flying over. She helped me to my feet and walked over to where Grix was standing, upright again. That was a good battle indeed, the grass dragon chuckled. Yes, I nodded. But how did I become myself again, even if it was just for that while? I'm not a psychic, so you'll have to tell me your story first. Come, sit down, everyone. Our group did that, telling our story once again. It was slightly intimidating looking up to the huge dragon, but he nodded understandingly once we were done. I believe that you've had the power to right yourself all along, Grix said. You being able to bring out the Charizard side in battle just now proved that. However, there is a missing piece. It's Jade, isn't it? Uggle asked. Indeed. If Firestorm and Jade can swap back the parts of each other's essence that were crossed, they will return to normal. The integration technique that you stole from me will aid in this. I'm sorry, but that was a combat necessity, I said. What does it do, anyway? Integration is a lightning elemental attack comprised of Thunderbolt and Dragon Breath. It combines both direct physical pain and also a mental strike, a truly devastating technique. However, as its name implies, it is also to make it a whole by bringing all parts together in unification. So I just need to find Jade and use this move on him? I asked. To put it simply, yes. Alright, I declared, standing up. I have to go then. But do you think you'll be able to use the technique properly? Grix asked. I'll try. Or how will you find your friend in the first place? Damn! I stomped the floor. I'm offering a place for you and your friends to stay for a while and train. You especially, for reckless use of your powers could bring about undesired results. But Jade, I trailed off. I was caught in the dilemma that I knew he was right, and yet I couldn't bear to leave Jade as he was for much longer. Storm, Jade would understand, Thracia said, putting a claw on my shoulder. Take it from someone who knows him best. There are times when even the teacher has to step down and become a student once again, Ugwal agreed. He doesn't mean it literally, but you get the point, right? Mirage asked. Serac nodded. Guys, thanks, I muttered, quickly wiping a tear from my eye. Turning back to Grix, I nodded. I accept then. When do we start?